So one of the questions and comments that I hear from my coaching clients as well as from students and just people that write into me is, what do I do when I know what to do, but I can't seem to implement it in the moment? This is so very common. This happens again, happens to all of us, happens to me too, is you know exactly what to do. For example, you know that you need to relax, right? You need to be more relaxed and slow your speech down. Let's just use that as an example. So you have a meeting, you have a presentation. You know this, but you can't seem to implement it in the moment, right? You can't seem to implement it in the moment. You just simply, when the meeting's, you just forget about it because you feel like I've got to focus on the content of the meeting, what it is that I have to say or what other people are saying. So I don't have time to be thinking about relaxing and slowing down, or I don't believe that I should slow down because if I speak too slow, people are not going to listen. Everyone else around me is speaking quickly. And so speaking slow is not going to make me look as intelligent as I actually am. So you might not believe that speaking slow is going to help. You might think it, but deep down you might believe that there are some consequences to speaking slow. And we'll talk about that. But so because your belief is that I really shouldn't speak slow, then even though you know that you need to, you won't. Okay? Every time you try to, you just won't do it. You won't even want to do it from time to time. So you know what to do, but in the moment, you can't do it. You say, okay, I know I need to relax now, and you might even be trying to implement certain techniques or strategies, and it just doesn't work. I know I need to slow down, but I just can't seem to slow down. I just keep speaking quickly, and then I crash and burn. So what do you do about that? So here are a few things that you can do to help you in this particular challenge. One thing is to remember it's not just what you do in the moment that counts, but it's what you do in all the moments leading up to that moment that counts the most. Okay, let me say that again. It's not just what you do in the moment, but it's all the things you do in the moments leading up to that moment that counts. So that simply means that if you try to implement something, a strategy, telling yourself to slow down, or speaking slowly, and the only time you try to implement that is in the meeting, in the high stakes situation, in the high pressure situation, when that's the time you try to implement it, and you find that you're not able to do it or that you're doing it inconsistently, then what that's telling you is that you need to be practicing that in all of the moments, that is the minutes, the hours, and the days leading up to those meetings, right? In your no pressure, in your low pressure, in your medium pressure situations, when there's no stakes involved, you need to be practicing relaxing and slowing down. I'm just using that as an example. Does this make sense? Now, why do you need to be practicing it leading up to the moments? Well, for at least a couple of reasons. One reason is that when we're under pressure, we tend to default. That is, we are going to default to our normal way, our habitual way of thinking, feeling, and behaving. We simply don't have the mental resources in that moment, especially when we are feeling a little anxious or nervous, when the stakes are high. We don't have the mental resources that we need in the training to implement something new. Your brain needs to conserve energy. Not only does it need to conserve energy, in that moment, you only have enough mental capacity, or at least you think, you only have enough mental capacity to focus on the task at hand, which for you is delivering the information. You don't have enough mental resources to focus on how you're speaking and all of that, right? That's something that's new. Your brain hasn't developed the pathways, the connections to implement that. So if you're trying to implement some new thought, some new way of feeling and speaking in a high pressure situation, it's hard enough if it's low or no pressure, but if it's high pressure, your brain just simply kicks it back. It ignores it because it doesn't have the bandwidth. It hasn't made the connections. So the resistance is so high to doing that, your brain needs to conserve the energy, use the energy to get through that moment to say what you need to say as best as you can, so it defaults. And this is why this happens, right? Time after time. So what must we do? What we must do is, when there's no pressure, we need to be developing the pathways, right? Developing the pathways for relaxing and slowing down when there's no pressure, when the resistance is still there, right? But it's less. So we're building the pathways, and what we're also doing is incrementally putting ourselves in higher and higher pressure situations, so that we have more control, so that we experience greater control over our thinking, over our speech, in some cases over our feelings. We have greater control when the pressure's on, right? So it's low pressure, so it's no pressure, low pressure, medium, and high pressure. You have to put ourselves in that situation and use it as practice, okay? So that means if you have an interview or important meetings or presentations that are coming up, you can't wait until the last minute to try to change your brain, to try to change the way you're going to speak, change the way you're going to think, change the way you're going to feel, because it's probably not going to work. I can't tell you it won't work, but it probably won't work. So what you've got to be doing is preparing yourself and practicing now, right? Starting now. Now, here's the challenge with that. The challenge is that as humans, we can often be very inconsistent. So we often need people to hold us accountable. All of my coaching clients, many of them have watched the videos, listened to all those, they've done other programs, all kinds of different things. And it's not until and unless and until they have someone to hold them accountable. And I'm always looking for new and better ways to even do that, right? But it's not until they have someone to hold them accountable that they begin to consciously, consistently implement what they know they need to do. So that means that every single day, we give you a daily routine. We give you the daily routine in the self-study. So why don't more people implement it? Inconsistency, discouragement, confusion. Well, and it's very, very clear. It's laid out very clear. But sometimes people are like, well, do I implement this? Do I implement this? Well, you wouldn't know that. You need some feedback. You need someone to say, well, yes, you actually need to do all these things, but here's what you, based on my assessment of you, watching you and listening to you and what you've told me, you need to focus on this first. But you can't get that from a self-study. You can only get that from an experienced person who can look at you and evaluate you and tell you that this is what you need to do because they've seen it before, right? So that's very, very important. It's that you understand that as you're going through this process, you need to know what to focus on each and every day in no pressure and low pressure and medium and high pressure situations, so that when the moment comes, when that presentation comes, the meeting, the interview comes, your brain is capable of implementing what it is that you're telling it to do. So if you tell yourself to relax, your brain is more capable of relaxing. If you tell yourself to slow down, your brain is more capable. And then the more you do it, right, the more you do it and the more you implement it in high pressure situations, then you build the experience that you need, the confidence to say, guess what? Even though I might be a little anxious or nervous, I know I can do it because I've done it before, right? So your brain looks back, automatically looks back at your memories. It looks at your memories, says, have we done this before? And this can work for you or against you. So if it looks back and says, oh, have we been in this kind of a situation before? The brain says, well, yes. How did we perform? Oh, well, we got stuck, or we did this. Oh, okay, so that's how we're supposed to do it now. Your brain looks for patterns. It conserves energy that way. It looks for patterns. And it's like a program. It runs the script, runs the program. So it looks back and says, okay, this is how we did it before. This is how we'll do it now. The brain looks and says, oh, well, we performed well that time. Yeah, we were a little anxious, but we performed well. So it says, okay, that's how we performed this time. Despite how you might feel, you might be feeling a little anxious or nervous, but your brain knows it. You were able to handle that. So we have to create those successful speaking experiences and memories. And the fastest way to do that is to have someone to focus you, to personalize what you uniquely need to be looking at and working on a daily basis so that you can get to where you want to get faster. Does that make sense? So in this particular challenge, you're going to ask yourself, is this me? Do I know what to do, but I can't seem to implement it or implement it consistently when I'm under pressure? Why is that? Well, it's because you probably haven't been implementing it before you got into that situation, at least not consistently. And there may be one or two things that you should focus on so that you can perform well under pressure. There may be one or two things, and you may not know what those one or two things are, but I do, right? So if you want to get there faster, if you want to be able to do that, in fact, I had a client named Japheth, and you can see his little testimonial. And he was a guy working as a teller, I believe, and had just graduated school. He told me, I hardly have any money, but I'm interviewing. I haven't done well in my last couple of interviews, and I know that I have the potential to get a better job, to get better jobs. And so he took most of the money he had in the bank and used it and invested it in his coaching. It's not just not astronomical or whatever, but it was pretty much what he had that he had saved up, okay? And he was working as a teller, so he's making maybe minimum wage, a little more than minimum wage, right? And within, I don't know, a couple of weeks or so of us working together, he had scheduled a couple of interviews. And I remember he went to one interview, he got the job, and he nearly doubled his current salary. He nearly doubled his current salary. So whatever he invested in the coaching, he had already made it back right then, just like that, doubling his salary. Well, guess what? It doesn't stop there. He was so confident that while we were working together, he had another job interview, and he got that job. And he made, I don't know how much it was, but he didn't double it again, but he made at least 50% more, right? 50% more than what he was making, something like that, right? So from the time we started working together, he more than doubled his salaries by getting 2 jobs just because he improved his speech by making a small investment, an investment that paid him back financially. I'm not just talking about paying him back by making him feel good, increasing his self-esteem, self-confidence. Yes, all those things are very important. Making him feel freer, yes. But literally, he made the money back because he got a better job. So some of you are out there who are watching this, you know that you can earn more money. You've got interviews coming up or ones that you want to go on, and it's your speech that's holding you back. So you just have to ask yourself, hey, do I kind of know what to do, but I'm simply not able to do it, and that's the thing that's stopping me? So I need to get some help, right, to implement this. Because once I get this help, as long as you follow my guidance, you have to follow my guidance, because I can tell you stuff and don't do it, right? If you don't do it, it's not going to work. If you follow my guidance, you have someone to hold you accountable, and if you implement it, you know that you can earn the money back that you invest in your coaching in no time. Okay, so just ask yourself that question. Do I want to keep trying to struggle and do this on my own and just, try to buy this, this is $97, let me do this book, this is free over here, let me watch this over here. You're still struggling and you're not getting the jobs you want, you're passing up the opportunities that you want. Or do you want to go ahead and invest and get someone to hold you accountable, get focused so that you can accelerate your progress, possibly make that money back and 10 times, 20 times, 100 times more, and then also feel freer to live the kind of life that you want to live? Ask yourself that question. I can't answer it. I'm not going to try to persuade you. I'm just going to present you with the information, and then it's up to you. Okay? So, as always, if you want to accelerate your progress, go ahead and book your assessment session with me, and let's go ahead and move forward and watch how quickly you can transform your speech and therefore your life. All right, this is Michael Williams. I'll see you in the next video.